Are you telling me that my house is not an asset? Absolutely. I'm telling you that your house... Hey rich friends, Candace here, your revenue growth strategist, showing you how to grow your revenue without using your labor. And in this video, I want to share with you the difference between assets and liabilities. So I was in a class and it was a great time. We were talking, we were having a good time. And then this one gentleman, he said, well, Candace, I feel like my assets definitely outweigh my liabilities. And I was like, okay, that's great. So let's talk about what is an asset. And I said, you know what, before we even talk about what an asset is, and before I give you all of that good content, let's talk about what is your greatest asset. And he looked at me and he was like, of course my greatest asset is my house. Oh, okay. And I laughed. I said, well, that's great. I agree with you that a house is a great purchase. It's a major purchase. It's a wonderful accomplishment. But let's just talk about what an asset is and what a liability is so that we can kind of clear up and clear the air, right? And he kind of looked at me like, are you telling me that my house is not an asset? Absolutely. I'm telling you that your house is not an asset. And then he was just like, you have to share this with me because I don't believe you. I talked to the banker and he told me this is the greatest asset I could ever buy. And I said, that's wonderful. Your banker was making a sale and he wanted you to know that a house is a great purchase, and it is, but it's not your greatest asset unless some other things are happening. So let's talk about what an asset is. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Very simple, right? Assets make you money. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. So we have to think about it in that way. So if an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, if you're paying for your house every month, is that house putting money in your pocket? And he sat there and he looked at me and he said, well, no, not necessarily, but it builds value over time. I said, yes, absolutely. So let's be clear on what your home is. Your home is an equity asset because it builds value over time. But at this moment in time, it's a liability because it's taking money out of your pocket. When you pay the mortgage on it every month, it's taking money out of your pocket. And he looked at me, he said, well, why would my banker say that? I said, because it's an asset to the bank. Yes, it is. And he looked at me, he said, yeah, that makes sense. I said, yeah, it makes sense because on the bank's balance sheet, that house, when you pay your mortgage, is an asset to the bank. But on your balance sheet, and when that money's coming out and it's going out every single month, it's a liability on your balance sheet. So we want to look at it and call it what it is. I'm not saying that buying a house is not a good thing, not at all. But what I am saying is that a house is not your greatest asset. And let's be clear, you are your greatest asset. Who did I say? I said you are your greatest asset. The reason I say that is because if you don't go out and produce the income, however that comes, if you don't go and produce the income, or you don't have the income coming in, then where's the money coming from, right? So with you being your greatest asset, you have to make sure that you have protection. And I'll talk about that a little later in the next video. But just know that assets make you money and liabilities take money out of your pocket. You have to make sure that you're on that. So another example of a liability would be, well, your car. And you're sending that money out. I'm sorry, your car is a liability. And then this other guy was like, my car is not a liability because it gets me to work every day, which gives me the opportunity to produce income. And I said, you're right. You're absolutely right. It does, but that doesn't mean that car puts money in your pocket. So you can find ways to turn those liabilities to where they pay for themselves, and that's wonderful. But I just want to be very clear on this video. We're talking about what an asset is and what a liability is. And if it's taking money out of your pocket, it's a liability. And if it's making you money, then it's an asset. And our ultimate goal is to have more assets than we have liabilities. So that is your great tip for today, the difference between assets and liabilities. And this is Candace, your revenue growth strategist, showing you how to grow your revenue without using your labor, rich friends. And make sure you subscribe right there, yeah. Subscribe and videos that are coming. we will always see you soon, right? Absolutely.